Alright, so we're back. I've been away for a week, my girlfriend's family's house, and now I am back to work on this bad boy, the CBR600. Alright, so where we left off was we got the front end taken apart and we needed to put new bearings in because the bearing races and bearings are jacked up from the accident, so I got the new bearings. So here's what the old ones looked like. These are ball bearing style, right? Obviously you can see they're balls. They go into this race, there's one on top and bottom and it rolls around. So the new ones are an upgraded bearing. They're tapered bearings. So this is what the tapered bearing looks like. So they have more surface area. So they should roll better, and then they should be less prone to getting damaged. The ball bearings, you know, it's a ball, so, or a sphere, so only like the point of the sphere is touching, which can dent the race and whatnot, and they just are inferior style for this application. So here's the new ones. So I need to lube them up, put some grease inside of them. I need to install the race into the bike. So the race is gonna go in here like this. It needs to be kind of hammered in there. So as you'd expect, didn't really go very easily. So I used an angle grinder to cut the lower race off. And then like chipped it away. I've done this before. It definitely was a lot easier before. This time was a lot harder. I just got the new one pressed on. I used, you know, the proper thing to do would have a press. I used the jack handle I have, slid that end over, it perfectly lined up with the inner race, and then a sledgehammer, hammered it on. Make sure you get the lower seal. So there's gonna be an upper seal and there's a lower seal. Make sure you have that under there, otherwise you just screwed yourself. All lubed up, cleaned up. So now I'm gonna go ahead and slap this into the bike. All right, so we're finally back. Finally back to work on the CBR. We've been waiting on forks. So these were the first pair of forks that I got from eBay. It said they need new fork seals, which was fine. Probably not gonna be able to see in camera, but it has these 3 little spots right here, which either is the chrome chipped and the metal is like rusted and coming up underneath, or it's like splatter from some welds. Either way, it sticks out. You can hear it, and I can feel it very clearly with my fingernail. So these forks are bad, it would need new inner tubes, because if you put new fork seals on, those fork seals are going to run down over that spot and get blown out. So these are getting returned, and I just got another set of forks from eBay. These ones look to be in much better shape. Hopefully won't need new fork seals. Here's the old ones, nice and bent looking. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these old ones packaged up, ready to be returned, and then go ahead and start putting the new ones on the bike. All right, so we got it back together a little bit. Got the forks in, loosely put in. Geometry seems good, goes side to side. Was routing the wires correctly. Also just got the new radiator in here, got that hooked up and tight on both sides, mounted in, not too hard. Got the fan mounted, everything looks good. The lower mounting bar down here, which you can kind of barely see, was bent, so I had to bend that straight. Got this all tight, all preliminary. You can see what the old one looked like. Was mangled for sure, obviously right here being the worst. So it's looking good. I just put this on just for fun so I could roll the bike around. You can see how out of true the rim is. You can see how much it's wiggling. So the rim's obviously toast. Brake rotors actually look to be spinning pretty straight, so hopefully I'm gonna be able to reuse those on the new rim that I have. I need to get a tire. That's kind of looking like it for all I need to be able to ride it. So I'm gonna hop online, see if I can find a tire locally used, because if I can get that put on or get that today, then I'm pretty much there as far as having everything to be able to get the bike outside on the road and ride it. So we're just warming it up right now. I just filled up the cooling system, so we're just bleeding out the cooling system. We got the brake master cylinder up here mounted. The line ran. I'm not positive that this is the way that it runs, but I think it is. I have the calipers just loosely on here because on the bad rim. I just wanted to kind of get this set up so that stuff was there, so I got that mounted on both sides. I just started to put the front together. So this is like the mirror holder, fairing stay, whatever you want to call it. That's the tip sensor. Got that mounted. So I'm just gonna keep kind of plucking away at it, see what we can do. We've disassembled it a bunch, trying to get to where the throttle cables are, because I'm going to replace the throttle cables. I also just replaced the hard line for the coolant. This is the old one, obviously smashed. Have the new one in here mounted up. Made sure it is nice and tight. Just took off the air box and everything to get down to the throttle bodies so that I can do the throttle cables, which I don't have with me, but I believe they just got delivered to my house. Once I do the throttle cables, I'll put it back together. You can see the air box here. Pretty brand new air filter, so I'm gonna go ahead and make the assumption it has new spark plugs, hopefully. It seems to sound fine when it's running. I also just like don't really want to do them. So I'm changing the throttle cables right now. I had to take off the throttle bodies by getting the screws down there that you get from the side. So I've got the cables hooked up to the throttle body, and now I'm trying to sort out getting them connected to what I'm gonna connect them to. So I think I'm gonna free the old ones up, get them out from under the steering stabilizer here. This whole right clip on, I'm gonna be replacing the brake, everything. So I think I'm just gonna take this whole thing off right now. And start slapping the new one on there. I just got the throttle cables tight and adjusted. I had to mess around with how much play there was in the throttle. Personally, I don't really like any play. And then I was just making sure that this return cable was tight, because at first it was kind of floppy, like it could flop out. Made that tight. I'm gonna start tightening back up the throttle bodies and just get the intake back on. Just finished getting the gas tank on. Fought a little bit getting the fuel line that goes onto the secondary injectors. You just had to pull off the clip and stick it onto the line and then put it on. You couldn't push the line on with the clip sitting there. If you ever do it, you'll understand. These are the throttle cables that I took off of the bike, and this is mainly why I replaced them. You can see this one's broken, kinked, and rusty. Still was functioning okay, like the throttle was still twisting, but yeah, wanted to get rid of that, wanted to get some better stuff on. So I just put on some new used ones off eBay for 20 bucks. The garbage pile is growing. So got that on, snaps closed, snaps better when it's in the right location. Just got the gas tank back on, air box on, so everything's good to go there. Please never put on rim tape. Look how bad this one was put on. I don't want it because of the color, but I also just don't really like rim tape in general, but taking this stuff off is a complete nightmare. You know, you have to kind of pick at it. You eventually can pull up a little piece. It tears, you get it going. See how it just starts to tear instantly? It's miserable. Taking this stuff off is miserable. Don't put it on, don't use it. Alright, so we're about to put a tire on the front rim, the new front rim that I just took the rim tape off. I just practiced on the old rim. I removed the old tire off the old rim, swapped over the valve stem that was in the old rim to this rim, which is a slanted one, which is nice. I'm using my Motion Pro stuff here. I've got the tire sitting in the heat there, so it's warm, so it'll go on easy. So I'm gonna set up the tripod and film me spooning this thing on. It'll be my first time ever spooning on a tire. Hopefully it goes easy, and hopefully I don't mangle the rim. That was not too bad, not too easy, first time. I definitely need to get some like spray lube or some better lube. Lube I have now, I'm putting it on by hand with a paper towel, and just doesn't cut it. It also is hot, so it's evaporating. But some spray Windex is what I'm gonna get, and hopefully that'll work a lot better. Balancing a wheel for the first time. Just got my Tusk tire balancer set up, put together, got the wheel on it, spun it a little bit, so right now it's settling to the bottom will be the heaviest spot. So then you'll add weights to the opposite of the heaviest spot. So you'll add weights up here and rebalance it and see how it is. The goal is to get the valve stem to just kind of sit on the side. have it not spin. All right, so it's my first time balancing a wheel, so I'm not sure how I did. I guess we'll see when I ride. It has 2 weights on it. The way I did it was I took the weights and I stuck them on there with just blue painter's tape before finally attaching them. And I tried a few different weights to see how, you know, where they ended up. I started with 4 and ended up at the bottom, 3 ended up at the bottom, 2 ends up on the side right over here, but it does end up on the bottom sometimes. 2 weights which are 1/4 ounce each, so there's a 1/2 ounce right there. So now I'm gonna go ahead and take the rotors off of the old rim, put them onto the new rim, and put it on the bike so I can finally get off this front stand.